possible for good, kind-hearted people to harbor so much apathy toward others. 4 years ago, I was warming up a few of my teammates at one of the first cross-country meets of my high school career. And as we were jogging along the course, there was a girl finishing up her race in dead last. Now, the older kids in my group, some being varsity members, started laughing to themselves and made fun of the girl. I remember being so angry at them, and for her, they were supposed to be kind people. They were supposed to understand and empathize with her. So why were they being so cruel? Eventually, I forgot about the incident and I kept on running. And with several steps faster and a few finish lines later, I made it to my senior year as a varsity runner in this past fall. I was prepared to have my best season ever. I was prepared to set multiple personal records and help my team win at the state meet. However, my question from freshman year resurfaced, and I began to feel isolated and distanced from the group. I often felt excluded from either important conversations or just casual ones. I was always out of the loop. And whenever a talk would come out, whenever they would talk about how each of us was important to our success at our race, my name always seemed to be forgotten. And in general, I just lacked that support system that I needed to succeed. And over time, I began to doubt myself. I began to doubt my motivation, and it eventually made my performance in races suffer. But in time, despite all of that, I told myself it didn't matter. That I could stand on my own, I could build my own confidence, and the fact that I wanted to run for myself and my team was enough. But unfortunately, the doubt had already seeped in too deep and the damage was dealt. By the state meet, I ended up running just an okay race. I didn't run fast enough to accumulate enough points for my team, and we ended up getting fourth, and not first. I was devastated. I kept on questioning myself, like, why? Why could I let this happen? How could I let this happen? And how could my teammates not understand what I was going through? But that's just it. By nature of apathy, they weren't aware of what they were doing. The intention was not to harm me, yet the intention was not for them to harm me. Instead, they were wrapped up in whatever it was they were going through in life, and they had just forgotten to take notice. Apathy had become second nature to them, and unfortunately, the people around them, namely in my mind, me, was hurt the most. And as for how, apathy acts like a fungus or a vine in the way that it festers and grows on someone, feeds on the light or compassion they need, and then, worst of all, once it's done with you, it spreads to others. That is absolutely true in my situation. I labeled myself a victim. I let myself come in contact with apathy, and I eventually became apathetic toward myself. I didn't advocate. Instead, I took the easy way out, even though it was more painful. I simply thought it would be too difficult, or they wouldn't understand. And all this time, I let my ego drive me. And it's quite possible there were other people in my team that could have been going through the same thing I was, but I just didn't notice myself. Now, this isn't a microcosm for society as a whole. We've built this sort of cycle for ourselves, around ourselves, in which we build on negative emotion, inaction, it keeps on building, and it creates this cascading effect in which you don't only stunt your own growth, but the people around you. Let's see, where did I leave off? Insecurity, thank you. All right. So like myself, during my experience with my cross-country team, and like my cross-country team, people build entire personas around their insecurity. They forget the people around them, not because they want to, but rather because, in a way, they have no choice. We
need to care about each other.
Thank you. Okay, yes, we need to care about each other more often. It seems that people underestimate how strong a smile or just a small compliment what we can mean to each other. But if we continue to be apathetic toward each other, if we allow ourselves to be wrapped up in whatever we're doing, we will forget that we need other people to succeed, that success comes from other people. And so if we choose compassion, if we choose to support each other, if we choose to believe in ourselves, others will believe in us, and eventually we'll succeed more and more. We'll succeed more and more, and not just alone, but as a whole.
We need to inspire other people.
Thank you. And the more people believe in ourselves and others, we inspire change. We are change. If we remember that we are all in this together, remember that that you're not the only one that feels a certain way, then you feel less isolated. You're less afraid of doing what you need to do as a person to grow and thrive. Other people will mimic this and want to thrive with you. And at this moment, as a society, we have an unprecedented moment in society in which we can connect with hundreds, even thousands of people in a moment. It's important what we display to them, what we portray about ourselves to them. If we choose to be rigid and we don't let them in, then they will shut themselves off and the whole cycle will just start all over again. But again, if we choose compassion, we get people to feel more comfortable with themselves. Then together we can build, we don't have to live in a negative cycle in which we exchange pain for pain, but rather a regenerative, positive cycle of support and exchange for progress. Now, I know this seems idealistic, and we don't live in that kind of world yet, but if we just take the time, it's possible. If we just take the time for ourselves, for each other, if we think that maybe the best thing for us is what we do, if we just tell ourselves what's best for us might be what's best for others, that helping others is in our best interest, then we won't need to worry about what others think, because they will already have had so much support from you. We need more confidence from our friends. Let's see. And if we believe in our friends, we gain confidence, and as we gain more confidence in ourselves, it's quite possible the very people that allow you to be yourself aren't comfortable with themselves to begin with. But if they see you come out in this sort of bravado, confident, in these strides, they'll want to stride next to you. Now, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but in general, just be there for each other. Be there for yourself.